Good morning. Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners. Issues and updates on June 28, 2022. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, what's up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. First, Commissioner Savas is out of the office this morning. He's attending a regional solutions project about the Mount Hood Rest area. And we will finish this no later than 11:30 a.m. so you all can get to the Oregon City Business Alliance lunch event that we are hosting. We'll start with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Chair, would you please convene as that board?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County.
Online joining you, Commissioners, is Housing Commissioner Ann Leenstra. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
First, these are all requests for consent agenda for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. First, approval of an amendment extending the duration and funding of an agency services agreement with Mental Health Association of Oregon to provide peer support to residents of the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. The amendment value is $108,460.37 for 14 months. The agreement value is now $475,864.30 for 5 years. Funding is through supportive housing services funds. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook is the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Go ahead.
Yes, add a little bit about the contract itself. It pays for peer support, and peer support includes housing stability, eviction prevention, promoting quality of life. Vulnerable residents will be connected to support services, advocacy for residents to navigate systems. There's community building involved and tracking interventions and outcomes.
Any questions or comments for the presenter? Seeing no objections.
Item 2, approval of an amendment increasing scope of work and funding for a personal services contract with Northwest Family Services for housing navigation and placement and supportive housing care management services. The amendment value is $489,065 for 4 months. Contract value is now $1,389,221 for 1 year. Funding is through supportive housing services funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and this contract or this amendment would add capacity to assist an additional 50 households with both supportive housing case management and housing navigation and placement services.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I just have a question. Oh, my mic's not on. I have a question about, I know we're going through some administrative streamlining and consolidation. Will these contracts in the future be run through H3S and not the Housing Authority, or will these continue to be run through the Housing Authority?
When the merger is complete, it will be ran through the new division, the Housing
Okay.
Services and Development Division.
Because that has not been quite established, because that takes effect July 1st. We're continuing everything through the Housing Authority as it's been.
Yes, and since you bring that up, you'll see later in the agenda, there's an assignment will happen. So you'll begin to see that any HAC created contracts will be assigned to the new division.
Got it. Thank you.
Any objections? Seeing none.
Item 3, approval of a personal services contract with Do Good Multnomah for case management, peer support, and housing navigation services for Veterans Village participants, and assignment of the contract to Clackamas County. It's just what Rod was saying. Contract not to exceed $1,685,300.21 for 5 years. Funding is through supportive housing services funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, contractors will provide houseless veterans an opportunity with a safe place to sleep and encourage in stabilizing and supportive services provided by H3S and community providers. Contractors will implement a plan to increase the successful transition of veterans into permanent housing, higher levels of care facilities, or long-term substance treatment programs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rod. Thank you, Commissioner Leenstra. That ends the Housing Authority. Chair, if you would now convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District.
I will now recess as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District.
For the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, first is a regular issue request, and that is approval of a support letter for a grant application for water environment services. There is a memo in your packet. Mike Bork is the Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Gary. As the staff report has, we're seeking your approval and signature on a letter of support for a WES grant that they are going trying to get approval for. They're just seeking a letter of support, but really it should be coming from the governing body versus from the NCPRD director. So we're bringing it forward for you if you have any questions.
Mike, you look different.
I shaved the facial hair off.
Wow. I
My
thought
summer
maybe we
look.
had a new director. Congratulations. Anyway, so commissioners, they were seeking board support and all board signatures, correct?
Yes.
Okay, have you folks read the letter, and are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, I think, Gary, do we need a motion? or
Yes,
we'll-
please.
I will consider a motion for approval of this letter for a grant application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation.
So moved.
Commissioner Fisher has moved, thank you, Mark.
Seconded.
Commissioner Fisher has moved that we support the letter from NCPRD through West to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And Commissioner Scholl has seconded that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much.
It was 4-0, Chair.
I mean 4-0. I
right.
wrote down 4-0 and I said 4-1.
No worries, thank you. All right, still on North Clackamas Park and Recs District, the following are requests for consent agenda items. Item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College for provision of program instruction at district facilities. The amendment value is $39,900 for 1 year. Total agreement value is now $143,484 for 3 years. Funding is through district budgeted funds. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Mike.
Other than, is there any questions about this? This is fairly basic.
Comments or questions? Any objections? Seeing none.
And Candy, would you go ahead and introduce yourself? I apologize. Candy.
I'm Candy Ho, Recreation Services Manager for the district.
Thank you, Candy. All right, item 2, approval of an amendment increasing the compensation and extending the duration of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College for access to district facilities for community-based programs. The agreement value is $15,068 for 1 year. Total agreement value is now $38,330. Funding is through Clackamas Community College. No county general funds are involved.
And I don't have any other additional comments. If there's any questions, Candy would be the one to answer.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections. Go ahead.
Item 3, approval of an amendment increasing funding and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas County for provision of meal, health, transportation, and referral services to Clackamas County residents at the Milwaukee Community Center. The agreement value is $29,432. The grant value is now increased to $453,624. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
And I have nothing to add other than this is a really good program that we would hope to continue.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl.
Mr. Bork, what period of time does this cover?
Current fiscal year. This is for current fiscal year,
Starting July 1st.
July
Starts
1st
to-
of '21 through June 30th of '22.
Got it, okay.
So it's for the next 2 days? Okay, got it.
Seeing no objections, thank you very
All right,
much.
very good. Thank you, Mike and Candy. Chair, would you now convene as the Water Environment Services Board?
I will now recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and convene as a Water Environment Services for the next items.
You are now meeting as Water Environment Services Board. These are requests for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of a resolution authorizing a transfer of appropriations from contingency into special payments within the Sanitary Sewer Operating Fund for fiscal year 2021-2022. Transferred appropriation value is $50,000. Funding is through service charges, interest, and other income sources. No county general funds are involved. Greg Geist is the Director of Water Environment Services. Go ahead.
Morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Yes, this is, as you may know, 3 of the cities that we serve have right-of-way fees that they tack on to the top of our bills. And then we collect those and reimburse the cities. So Happy Valley, we projected to grow about 5%. They actually grew about 10%. So we need to move money from our contingency into the special payments in order to cover that reimbursement to the city.
Okay, any questions or comments? Objections? Seeing none.
Item 2, approval of a goods and services contract with TVW Incorporated for cleaning services at various water environment services facilities. Contract value is $264,581.76 for 3 years. Funding is through Water Environment Services operating funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and this is just using the same janitorial service that the county uses, except for our satellite facilities.
What's TVW short for?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Any more questions or objections? Seeing none.
Item 3, approval of a construction contract with R.L. Reimers Company for completion of the Kellogg Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Aeration Basin Improvements Project. Contract value is $2,794,940. Funding is through Water Environment Services capital funds. No county general funds are involved.
So this is a continuation of our rehabilitation of the Kellogg facility. We refurbished parts of the aeration basin and put in new blowers, but this is really putting in all new controls and rehabilitating the concrete and some other minor things. We hope to get some support from Energy Trust of Oregon on this one because we think that the instrumentation and controls work is going to save us a lot of energy.
Additional funds are always welcome. Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of a public improvement contract with DN Tanks for completion of the Kellogg Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Secondary Clarifier Rehabilitation Project. Contract value is $1,797,000. Funding is through Water Environment Services capital funds. No county general funds are involved.
So for those folks that have been to one of our facilities, the secondary clarifiers are essentially one of the last treatment processes. They're giant round tanks with sweeps that go in circles, and they just need to be rehabilitated. New mechanicals and rehabilitate the concrete.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Chair, would you now convene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will now recess as a Water Environment Services Board and convene as a Board of County Commissioners.
All right, next is consent agenda for the regular county requests. We'll start with assessment and taxation. Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with the Masters Touch for tax statement printing, mailing, and electronic delivery. Contract not to exceed $707,300 over 5 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Bronson Rueda is deputy assessor for 2 more days, and then he'll be county assessor on July 1st. Bronson, go ahead.
Thank you, Gary. Hello, Chair Smith, members of the board. I come before you today to request approval of the contract with the Masters Touch to print and mail our property tax statements. They will also offer an electronic delivery option of our property tax statements. And this is a customer service piece that we presently do not have. For printing and mailing, we currently use DAS down in Salem. They print our statements. We purchase envelopes from another source that are shipped to Salem. And then for our property tax inserts, we have another vendor that prints those, and those are shipped to Salem, and then finally mailed from that location. With the Masters Touch, no additional vendors will be needed. They supply the paper, envelopes, and will print our property tax statements and our insert. The additional features that Masters Touch will provide include the e-notices that I mentioned, so our customers will have the opportunity to have a portal, go online, and look at their statement, and then not have it mailed to them. And they can print it off too. We also will have NCOA address verification, which stands for National Change of Address. What that is it's a database that will check addresses for the USPS, and we'll check addresses that we have in our database, and if there's any differences, then we'll be notified. And then we'll also have IMB tracing, which essentially is verifying mail delivery and date. And this will be useful when customers come to us and say, well, we didn't get the property tax statement this year. And we can say, well, we show that it was delivered, on this date at this time. So they will offer that service for us as well. The first year cost is anticipated to be approximately $120,000, which is about $6,000 over last year's cost. However, the last 3 years, DAS has increased the costs about $5,000 each year, so it's comparable. And also, the additional features that Masters Touch provides, we feel it's acceptable with that modest increase. Do you have any questions?
Good.
No. Quite a bit of coordination with 3 different vendors and printers.
Right.
Something
Yeah, I
else
would
comes
often
to
drive
mind.
down to Salem to
Yeah,
get
something
those.
else comes to mind, but I'll be silent. Any objections to this going forward? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bronson. Next, County Council, item 1, designation of a newspaper for 2022 property tax foreclosure publication. Projected cost of publication is $1,812.38. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Kathleen Rastetter is Assistant County Counsel. Go ahead.
Morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. As part of our normal statutory foreclosure process, we're required to publish the list of foreclosed properties. Not only do we serve the individuals personally, but we also have to publish the list. And we switch publications each year just to switch it up and keep it fair. So this year, we're recommending the published list be done in the Clackamas Review, and we always bring this decision before the commissioners. The payment for the publication is part of A&T's budget, so it's already been budgeted for. That $1,800+ was what it cost last year. It doesn't change too much from year to year. So that's the estimated cost going forward, and we just ask for approval of the Clackamas Review as the newspaper of publication.
Any objections, questions? Seeing no objections.
Thank you.
Item 2, approval of an amendment modifying the benchmarks of the Clackamas County Courthouse Phase 1 funding agreement. Agreement value remains at approximately $95.7 million. Funding is through the Oregon Courthouse Capital Construction Improvement Fund. No county general funds are involved. Nate Boderman, Assistant County Counsel, will present, but I want to add, this has nothing to do with the decision you're making tomorrow on the P3. This is the existing agreement we've already had with the state of Oregon, and we just had to extend the deadline before June 30th. It has nothing to do with the decision you're going to make tomorrow. I want to make that clear. But Nate, go ahead.
Well, Gary stole my presentation, so.
Sorry, Nate.
No, that's all right. As he said, this is an amendment to a contract that's already in place. The amendment expires we are due to have our obligations completed on July 1st. So we're amending the benchmarks to bring that in line with what's already been completed. And again, just to be clear that this is for work that has already been completed. So has nothing to do with your decision tomorrow. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments for the presenter? Seeing no objection.
Sorry, Nate, but thank you. Next, Finance Department. Item 1, approval of a parking space lease and addendum with Nicholas Vereski and George Diamond for 10 parking spaces for the District Attorney's Office. Lease value is $11,400 per year until terminated. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Jeff Jorgensen is the Facilities Director. Go ahead.
Morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. Bringing this lease forward, when we eliminated a lease for the Butler Building, which is right across from the courthouse because of sewage in the buildings, no good water. They also had parking spots down there. When the lease went away, the parking spots went away. So we went in, the DA had searched around, found a parking area on top of the bluff there, basically by the McLaughlin building up there, McLaughlin House. And so there's 10 parking spots up there that the DA has been paying out of their with the P card on a monthly basis, but we want to go ahead and establish this for 10 parking spots until the lease is gone. We can continue this. It's just basically for those 10 parking spots.
They'll take the elevator down.
They can take the elevator or the stairs.
Okay.
Or the-
Any questions or comments? No objections.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, is anyone here from Human Resources? Okay, we'll get someone in here. We'll skip over this item. We'll move on to Health, Housing, and Human Services. Item 1, approval of an amendment increasing funding of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for operation of the Mount Hood Express bus service. The amendment value is $222,000, and the total agreement value is now $858,999 for 1 year. Funding is through federal pass-through dollars. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead.
Yes, the Mountain Hood Express provides public transit bus services between the city of Sandy, Government Camp, and Timberline, along with other locations in the Mount Hood area, increasing access to employment, recreation, shopping, and medical services for residents and visitors.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of an amendment increasing funding and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District on behalf of its Milwaukee Community Center for the provision of meal, health, transportation, and referral services to Clackamas County residents. The amendment value is $29,432. The grant value is increased to $453,624. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, no additional information to add there.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections?
Item 3, approval of an assignment of a personal services contract with Do Good Multnomah for case management, peer support, and housing navigation services for Veterans Village participants to Clackamas County from the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Assignment has no fiscal impact. Contract value remains at $1,685,300.21. Funding is through Supportive Housing Services funds. No county general funds are involved.
And this is what I mentioned earlier. This is simply a logistical piece, moving anything that or originated in HAC, moving it over to the new division, Housing Services and Development.
Thank you. Any questions, objections? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Next, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of a board order adopting the solid waste management fee schedule as recommended by the Solid Waste Commission effective July 1, 2022. No fiscal impact. Funding is through ratepayers. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson is the Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Chair Smith, Commissioners, Administrator Schmidt, this is basically a follow-up from the discussion we had a week or so ago on June 15th. Basically a request to put this at that time, the board agreed to accept the Solid Waste Commission's recommendation for a very minor increase. It's tied to Metro's rate increase, the tip increase. This is simply formalizing the request to put it on request for consent.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objection.
Item 2, approval of a grant agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for the Sunrise Gateway Corridor Visioning Project. Grant value is $4 million. Funding is through the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan, introduce your guest, please.
I will. I am pleased to introduce Jamie Stastny. She is our Regional Transportation and Land Use Policy Coordinator, and she will be the project manager on this particular project as it goes forward. We are here today to ask the board's authorization to approve the IGA before you today. In early 2021, the Board of County Commissioners approved a state legislative request for $4 million to fund the Sunrise Corridor Visioning Project. The Sunrise Gateway Corridor Visioning Project is an opportunity for community engagement with an emphasis on engagement of people who have historically been left out of these public processes. The project will evaluate opportunities to optimize land use designations within the corridor, supporting housing and job creation, will include an economic competitiveness analysis, a community health assessment, and will strive to protect the residents of the area by developing and initiating an anti-displacement strategy. The project will modernize the transportation vision for the corridor by understanding the community needs and bringing it into alignment with the discussion we had with Metro with the T2020 process, that smaller, more reasonable project. We're pleased to announce the request was granted through House Bill 5006 at the end of 2021, and essentially it's taken some time, as all things do, with state agencies to get these IGAs finalized. We reviewed this with County Council, and we are at the point where this IGA is to the process of being approved. Jamie is joining me in case you have any specific project questions. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Welcome, Jamie. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. When does the corridor visiting project start, and when will it be completed?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So we've been waiting for the agreement to get finished so we can get it signed and put into place, then we'll have the money. So we're working on the draft RFP right now. As soon as we have the money, we can move into procurement and put that out, hopefully this summer. Would like to start work this fall, and it will take 18 months approximately to complete the project.
Okay, Jimmy, thank you.
Commissioner Fisher.
So sort of a technical question, but there's lots of talk about swapping out parts of what's in the urban growth boundary between the Damascus area and Tigard. Is that going to be part of the consideration of the community outreach around this? Because it kind of, in my mind, it changes the development needs for the region.
The discussions they're currently having are the criteria for that mid-cycle review. There's been no final determination on Damascus. That's a discussion that needs to be taken into consideration. This dialogue around this effort is to serve existing and some of those areas that are currently in that UGB area. There's no dialogue about taking all of that land area back. It may be some portion of it, but this type of improvement is still needed to serve that area.
Okay. That was my main question is, will it still be needed and how are we taking into account all the different moving pieces? So, thank you, Dan.
Will any more staff or consultants be hired for this?
So right now, there's an internal working group that we're collaborating with, not only with internal Clackamas County employees, but external stakeholders as well. That group, and it's in the staff report itself, it outlines that group. But our primary desire is to get a consultant on board with those dollars and then have Jamie coordinating with that, with our internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, and that consultant to make sure they're meeting our needs.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 3, approval of a public improvement contract with Granite Construction Company for the Sunnyside Road Area Paving Project. Contract value is $5,566,566. Funding is through system development charges and state funds, House Bill 2017 funds. No county general funds are involved.
We're paving a big road. So basically, the contract consists of 3 separate projects, all focused around Sunnyside Road. Essentially, Sunnyside Road resurfacing from 122nd to 132nd Avenue, Sunnyside resurfacing from 132nd to 162nd, and the extension of an eastbound turn lane at 169 to add capacity in there. This is that second phase of that project. If you recall, we've been doing the ADA improvements out there, and that work is underway and completing now. This is the actual resurfacing of that roadway. I should probably read into the record the fact that the project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on April 12, 2022. Bids were publicly opened on May 10th of 2022. After review of the bids, Granite Construction Company was determined to be the lowest responsive bidder.
Is House Bill 2017 gas tax?
It's gas tax MDRF.
That's how this is being funded, the over $5 million?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Scholl?
Dan, does the city of Happy Valley contribute to this project?
No. We continue to have maintenance responsibility for all of Sunnyside Road.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no further objections.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioners, we still have one item for Human Resources. A staff member will be here any second, but I'm going to move on. But otherwise, all these other items you have approved for consent agenda, including special districts, will be on this Thursday's business meeting, June 30th. But we'll come back and finish Human Resources as soon as the staff member attends. Moving on to the regular issues list. Next is ARPA, Nonprofit and Community-Based Organization Update. There was a memo in your packet, and this is a request by originally Commissioner Shull and other commissioners on how we're spending these nonprofit dollars that the board has already authorized. We have presenting Martine Koblenz, our county's Equity and Inclusion Officer, and Jennifer Hardnett, who is part of our Equity Office team, but she's here strictly to work on the distribution of these funds to nonprofit organizations. So Martine and Jennifer, welcome, and go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Martine Koblenz, Equity Inclusion Officer.
Jennifer Hardnett, ARPA Community-Based Organization Liaison.
So I'm going to start off with, I know that you received the memo, but I'm going to start off with a background and give you a little sense of what we've been working on so far, and then next steps. So as you know, the ARPA dollars are intended to support jurisdictions in the following: to support public health response, address negative economic impacts, replace public sector revenue, invest in infrastructure, and premium pay for essential workers. Today, we're just going to focus on addressing the economic impacts from the pandemic, especially for those individuals and communities most impacted. As you all know, we have been riding this pandemic storm for a while, and ARPA has been a tool to help us weather that storm so that we can come out more resilient and stronger as a community on the other side. So in July of 2021, as you know, the board approved $6 million, $2 million for the distribution of basic needs to individuals and households disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, and $4 million to support CBOs in their resiliency and capacity building to ultimately respond to the increased needs of our vulnerable communities. Today, we're just going to provide you with a status of the $6 million with a timeline of what we've accomplished thus far, an explanation of the 2 programs developed for the distribution of those dollars, and our upcoming next steps. So before we go into the 2 programs, I want to turn your attention to the infographic that we sent. And if anyone needs copies, we have it as well. So when COVID hit, the county relied upon the service support of the CBOs, the community-based organizations, to respond to the increased needs in order to reduce the effects of COVID-19 in the public health emergency response. Partnerships with nonprofit, so that includes neighborhood and faith-based organizations, and together we call that community-based organizations, CBOs, have been successful in meeting needs that the county could not have otherwise done alone. CBOs are in a unique position because they deliver culturally responsive services, and that's due to their presence and their relationship and history with communities, especially those that are severely disproportionately impacted. And and when I say disproportionately impacted, I'm talking about rural communities, low-income communities, communities of color, and our aging community members. That's specifically in Clackamas County, those who were disproportionately impacted. So the Treasury also has noted that across the country, CBOs are serving as both implementers and advisors for governmental agencies. And at the same time, CBOs have faced a loss. They faced a loss in staffing and volunteers, a loss of funding through donors, while also having an increase in the needs by community. So Jennifer will go into detail about the 2 funding programs in just a minute, but before she does, I want to share with you the timeline of the work we've accomplished thus far. So the board approved last July, and in early fall, we convened a small working group of representatives, a variety of voices and perspectives from county departments, and that includes county administration, public and government affairs, transportation and development, public health, and behavioral health. So we had those perspectives from the various departments. And in the winter, the work group determined that it's not simply a matter of just distributing dollars. In fact, what we needed to do was to create 2 programs to distribute the dollars in a clear and transparent fashion to ensure that we as a county are meeting the needs of our community. And while we meet the needs of our community, we also needed to keep in mind the following components: that the programs that we are creating are in compliance with ARPA eligibility and reporting requirements, both financial and programmatic, that the programs are in alignment with Clackamas County's board priorities, and that the programs are in compliance with our Clackamas County Finance Department risk assessment. And also to ensure that we are successful working with these community-based organizations in the reporting requirements for ARPA, and to ensure that the program's outcomes are successful and sustainable, we hired a CBO liaison, Jennifer Hardnett, whose job is to carry forward the board's priority to build public trust through good government. Jennifer's engagement with CBOs has already been far-reaching. She will continue to work with the CBOs throughout the length of the grant to ensure success in both the financial and the programmatic reporting. So now I will pass it along to Jennifer, and she will talk about both her engagement with organizations and outline for you the 2 funding programs.
Thank you, Martine. Hello, Commissioners. So through the engagement with the community-based organizations, I took it a step further and reached out to community leaders and also community stakeholders to ensure that what I would learn from them is their historical relationships with the community-based organizations that are in Clackamas County, and that also come from Portland that serve Clackamas County residents. And from that, I have learned that most of the CBOs do serve underserved communities, and they have that increased service need. The engagement also consists of the one-on-one conversations through virtual and in-person, CBO collaboration meetings, which were to the public as well, and Clackamas County has a monthly CBO check-in that I'm also a part of, where I continue to hear the needs, I continue to hear how CBOs are currently funded, and I continue to hear different perspectives on what they need in order to continue to be sustainable for the county. So with that, we are being intentional that the allocation for funds are made through a lens where Clackamas County residents their interests are front and center. So the basic needs program that we have set up, there's $1.8 million for distribution to various CBOs for funding basic needs items such as food, air conditioning units, diapers, et cetera, the needs of the residents. And we'll be contracting with an organization who will give that individual CBOs the stuff that they are requesting in order to benefit the communities. The other program, which is the capacity building program, is set out to put $4 million to distribution to CBOs in order to address the recovery and resiliency necessary to meet the increased pandemic-related service needs, such as operational expenses, funding and program monitoring, technical assistance, and operational consulting provided by a mature organization. This should support the piece where the sustainability would come in for these organizations to continue to be helpful to the community and grow as the service needs grow too as well.
Thank you, Jennifer Hartnett, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes,
I wanted to-
Martine, yes.
Yeah, I just want to close it by telling you our next steps. So the next steps will be finalizing the contract with the organization Ant Farm to distribute the basic needs upon approval of the board, and that we anticipate that those dollars will go out in late summer. And then additionally, that we plan to release the capacity building notice of funding opportunity in August so that we can start looking at awarding the capacity building grants in this fall. And so, thank you. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what the next steps were.
Okay, I know I have a lot of questions, but Commissioner Schrader, you're up first.
Yeah, well, who are the community, which organizations? Is there a list, or can you inform us as to which entities you've been collaborating with? And can we get that so we have it on hand?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can get that list for you. And it's, a majority of the organizations are organizations that have also gone through the small grants program. And that was another thing that I wanted to identify, is that what this is program-based and not project-based. So to make it really clear that the programs that these community-based organizations, their mission and vision is followed, and that we have funding in order to support that.
And so, and some of the organizations you'll be very familiar with because they come together and they've come together in meetings. Some of the CBO organizations that come together with public health and public health response. And then Jennifer has done a lot of one-on-one with community-based organizations or nonprofits that are to get the far reach. I also, before Jennifer started, collaborated with and connected with, actually, Chair Smith, you connected with me with a couple of nonprofits. So there have been various collaborations and one-on-one interactions, and we can send you the list of all the ones that we've reached, because we also held a webinar to start talking about ARPA and how ARPA is different and what the reporting requirements are and what would be expected of our organizations that would serve as subrecipients. So we can definitely send you the list.
Yeah, and you can't divulge which organization you're hiring yet to.
Oh, yeah, we did, and it's in the memos, Ant Farm, for the basic needs.
Right.
Because they have a really far reach also in rural community, and they already have a lot of partnerships with a lot of nonprofits and community-based organizations.
And that's been proven also with those one-on-one conversations that I've had with community leaders and also other nonprofit organizations. When I ask the question, whom do you collaborate with? Whom have you collaborated with during the pandemic? And they have mentioned Ant Farm.
So they have a larger, because don't they work with youth directly?
Yeah, they have many
larger
different
reach than
business line items.
Mhm.
So they work with youth, they work with the Latinx community,
Mhm.
they work with rural populations in general, they work with low income and communities that are vulnerable in need.
Okay. Thank you.
So how would an organization apply for these funds? Is there an online link?
Right, so we wanted to attach many materials, and we knew that there would be too many materials to have you to try to read right now, but we have those materials for you. So
Well-
one is for the basic needs. The folks that would apply for the basic needs would apply through a process with criteria that we have already started outlining with Ant Farm. They would apply to Ant Farm for dollars or goods, keeping in mind the needs of what community is, what the current community needs are. And then for capacity.
Go ahead.
For capacity building, it's a different process because it's a different program. They would apply directly to the county and would be federal subrecipients working with the county.
Okay, so what my question is, thank you for that answer. If I'm Joe Blow Public with a little nonprofit out there, I'm watching this presentation, I don't know where to go to apply. How do we apply? I mean, who do we call? Do we have something on the website that says how to access ARPA funds for your nonprofit? Click here to get information and apply.
Yes.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yes.
Yeah, so there will be a process for that. I'm working with PGA in order to have that updated on the website where they can go to apply. And we're still in process with that contract. So that contract has not been completed yet. So there isn't a space for them to apply directly right now, but there will be one
So Chair,
on the Clackamas County website.
So there are, you said there's been webinars and there's been education efforts for some of these nonprofits that are interested in this, correct?
Yes, there's been one webinar and 2 more coming.
Okay. Are the webinars different or are they same?
They build off of each other.
Okay. And so how does a group who's watching now access the education and webinar effort? Unless you've been notified. I mean, to me, I want the information out there.
Yes.
I don't want it to appear to be a closed
Yes.
group. So how would, for instance, nonprofit ABC out there get onto these webinars?
Wholeheartedly, I agree with you. And so when we did the first webinar outreach, PGA helped market it out to all of community. Through our website, it was on the website, folks registered. We had about 60-ish nonprofits register, 40-ish attended. And so it's important that not only are we announcing the webinars in our networks, we want to make sure that that nonprofit that hasn't connected with our county has the ability to do that. So we will have far-reaching announcements and invitations through the website, through the support of marketing with PGA, and through our networks.
So what is the URL of the website? That's what I'm trying to get you to say. Do you have an address or a phone number to link?
Yes, Chair, it's the ARPA, Clackamas County ARPA website. It will have the information when the webinar comes.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So you said one webinar was already conducted.
Yes.
How did those people find out about that? So if a group is out there, they want to get into the second and third webinar, how do they find out about that?
So it's on the Clackamas County ARPA website. It was posted. We also marketed it through the various connections that we have and folks that work with community-based organizations and nonprofits. So it was on the website, and it was also distributed and marketed through different networks.
Gary, you have a comment?
www.clackamas.us/recovery. That's the website.
/recovery, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to know. Gary, can you say that again slowly for anybody listening out there?
www.clackamas.us/recovery.
Good, thank you very much. And it sounds like you've done just a lot of wonderful information. Any other comments on my questions?
No, thank you, Chair Smith.
Okay, Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
On your memorandum, under paragraph titled 4 million capacity building allocation and distribution. It says the goal for the 4 million allocation is to improve the capacity and resiliency of community-based organizations. How, in other words, the intent is for that 4 million to modify and improve the community-based organizations? Their function is to help what you go on to say, communities as Black, Indigenous, people of color, low income, and severely affected rural areas. But this tells me that that focus on that 4 million is the capacity and resiliency of the community-based organizations. It doesn't tell me what they're going to really do with the money to actually help those organizations. That's one question. Let me give you the other two because they're kind of related. Okay. And then under the next category, the $2 million basic needs allocation and distribution says the goal for the $2 million allocation is to ensure we are meeting the basic needs of individuals and households disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Now, will the CBOs make the decision on who those communities and families and households are? Okay. And the third question is on the final paragraph, next steps. It says upon completion of an approval of the contract with Ant Farm, that CBO will begin distributing basic needs dollars. Does that mean that Ant Farm is going to be solely responsible for distributing both capacity building dollars and basic need allocation? Because I know Ant Farm, I like them. They're in Sandy, they're right down the road from me. Mm-hmm. They do good things, but they're a small organization. So anyway, those are three questions I had on how this is going to work.
Yes, 3 excellent questions. Do you want to start? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll answer your first question, Commissioner Scholl. For the capacity building distribution, that is for the operational expenses, funding, technical assistance, operational consulting. So there will be a subrecipient based on how ARPA works. So there will be a subrecipient to get those funds. And then that subrecipient will help the other organizations with their programming and helping them become mature organizations too if they're not already mature. And then they will help them grow and be sustainable going and building that resiliency going forward. So they'll have a sustainability plan. So the way that the grant application is written is it will draw out that information for a sustainable plan for those organizations that not only include the ARPA funds, but other ways that they can get revenue resources in order to continue their program.
I want to just quickly add, because the service need has increased tremendously, right? The needs of the community has increased. The resiliency and capacity building of those organizations that serve those communities will in turn benefit the community because they'll have the ability to serve them better. That's the idea. So that's for the question 1.
Go ahead.
Well, my concern there is that as somebody who represents people across the county who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, my concern is getting the dollars down to the people,
yes,
the individuals,
yep.
And because that's where I'm compelled. Those are the people who I'm compelled to stand up for.
Yes.
But again, what you just told me, I'm concerned that too much of this $4 million is going to go to actual organizations. You said operational, experience, technical, and I'd feel much better if I could see where this money's $4 million is a lot of money, and of course we have other pressures for potential use of this money, and so I'd be much more at ease if I could see that this is actually getting down to where the rubber meets the road and not so much supporting nonprofits. Which is another big concern. And anytime we have money coming through the county, going out to nonprofits, is how much of that money is used in overhead for those nonprofits, and how much is that money is actually being used to relieve hunger, homelessness, medical, and other issues like that?
So to answer that a little further for you, Commissioner Scholl, when the nonprofits are able to increase their capacity, they are also able to serve more folks. And so that's how but this, for the ARPA funding, it's for the impacted nonprofit organizations that have been impacted. And so by helping and supporting the impacted nonprofit organizations or the CBOs, in turn, they're going to be able to serve more folks. So they're going to be able to serve more of our community, our aging community, our underserved communities. So it's the trickle-down effect.
And it's not just anecdotal, because part of ARPA reporting requirements is not just the financial, but it's the programmatic. So they're going to have to say, this is our expected output, and this is our expected outcome. And then they have to report back and say, by doing X, Y, and Z, this is who we served and how we served them. So that's the programmatic piece on the reporting requirement through ARPA. So that's how we'll know whether and how we have served the actual people that are in need through these organizations.
Okay, and then getting back to my last question, please. Your next step says, upon completion and approval of the contract with ANFARM. ANFARM's a competent nonprofit. We like them out there in Sandy, but they're a small organization. How is it they're going to be like centralized, a central distributor and decider where this money goes throughout the county?
Right, so I just want to make sure it's clear that ANFARM's charge is, their scope is the basic needs dollars, not the capacity building. So you're right, they may not be in a place as a mature organization to do the capacity building work. Okay. The basic needs scope is one where I think they're really well suited, because they have such a far reach and connection with other partnering organizations. And to your second question that we didn't get to, but it's related to this, right, is that the organizations, how we know we're giving the people what they need is because the organizations that will apply to AntFarm for the goods or the dollars, these are organizations that are serving the people. So in their day-to-day work with the people, whether it's around housing, around food insecurity, whether it's around, whatever the case may be, it's work that they do with the people, so they have the sense of the need because they're working directly with the folks. And then through that, then they get to apply and say, we need X number of goods or X number of dollars to serve the people. And then the reporting back will say, this is the number of people that received this amount of food or whatever the basic need item is. This is who we served. This is the area or the community that received that item or those goods or those dollars. Does that make sense?
It's required reporting.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I have one last question, if I might. Okay, we know summer's began, and we know during summertime we have many children in Clackamas County who don't get the meals they normally received at school. So here's one more question for you. Of the $6 million, you have $4 million going to capacity building, okay, and $2 million going to basic needs allocation. I wonder if it's not too late to switch those numbers around. In other words, put more money into basic needs allocation and distribution and less into capacity building. I don't need a question. I don't need an answer on that. I just want to put that out as something to think about. Thank you.
Commissioner, I'm not sure.
I think Fisher.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher, for keeping track.
No, that's all right. I believe Commissioner Schrader and I were at the National Association of Counties when the board approve this, really diving in nationally on how to use ARPA dollars, hearing scenarios from all across the country, while here at home, this board approved this. If I would have been present to vote for this, I would have voted an absolute yes, because of the capacity building. One thing that we've learned, and Commissioner Schroeder, I hope you can weigh in on the things that you focused on as well, is that the best use for these dollars is to make them last beyond the pandemic, to help with the long-term recovery of our community, which we see right now, and before now and off into the future, is continuing. The effects of the pandemic have been far-reaching. So it kind of goes back to that old saying about you can give someone a fish or you can teach them how to fish. And providing the infrastructure and the capacity within our nonprofit sector will allow them to do more when the $2 million that is the direct needs allocation is no more. We'll be able to help. And if I'm not correct, tell me I'm wrong, but increased in applying for more grants, increasing their fundraising capacity, increasing each nonprofit's connections with the community and leveraging and collaborating and working on all of those pieces which will make them more effective moving forward. So I really support the capacity building. It's been long in coming. I'm sure Tootie's aware, and Commissioner Schrader's you've been at this. Martha, how long have you been doing this now?
Since 2003.
So a big need for a very long time, and I'm sure Commissioner Scholl has seen this as well, is the need for nonprofit capacity within Clackamas County. This effort will have far-reaching effects for other needs that we have when we need to contract out services beyond the pandemic. So I just want to thank you for that. I'm sad I couldn't vote for it back in the beginning, but you have my full support. And I think this board, in allocating this and listening to the team and working internally to suggest this, was very wise in moving forward with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Fisher. Commissioner Schrader,
I'll
you're up.
take Commissioner Schrader. You can call me that.
It's okay. No assuming each other's identities, okay? That's okay. So, no, I don't have an issue with the capacity building at all, because since I've been here, I have to admit, one of the issues we've had as a county, as we moved to do the history, is doing it all internally with staff. We started to move towards contracting with other nonprofits. However, so building capacity is important, but the dilemma is this, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, or maybe it's just a comment I'm going to make. When we contract out with these nonprofits, what are the metrics that are used? And how are we maintaining, I think that goes to a little bit with what Commissioner Scholl was saying. How do we know that if we're building their capacity, what are the metrics we're using to know that they are meeting what they say they're meeting? I do know in the past with Multnomah County, who has largely really worked with nonprofits, and principally with nonprofits occasionally, not recently, but there have been issues with the accountability and giving it to a nonprofit and having it not used for the intent. And I also, okay, so that's one piece. How do you do that with accountability? I'm assuming that's all contractual. So would that be an answer for people? And
Yes,
that
it is.
we basically manage the contracts. Yeah.
Yes, we would be managing the contracts. It's part of the application process and requirement is to outline intended outcomes, outputs, but also budget to show sustainability. But the other piece too is that's one reason why we hired a CBO liaison.
Okay.
Because it's not just the engagement prior to application. What's really important is the continued relationship and engagement after once awarded, because ARPA has some really strict reporting requirements.
Right,
For good
yeah.
reason, right?
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that not only are they spending the dollars right, but that the programmatic requirements are in alignment with, is this an economic impact? Yes. Who are the communities that it's intended to serve, and how did they serve those communities through whatever program they create for capacity building and resiliency?
So we are trusting them to come up with various programs that are kind of give us a menu of opportunities.
So they're not going to come up with a program. It should be a program that's already existing for them.
Okay,
So, and that's the purpose of that capacity building. And there's a piece to it where there's the subrecipient who's delivering the reporting and reporting on the individual organizations and how the dollars are being used. And in addition to that, the dollars aren't just going straight out the door. It's on a quarterly basis. So in order to get your next, quarterly piece of, of funding, you have to complete the reporting first. So that's a way to hold the organizations accountable too as well, and not lose any, or take a lower amount of risk.
okay. And the Ant Farm is going to be the subrecipient to do this?
For basic needs, so I just want to
basic
make,
needs.
sorry. So when
But
you
not
look at
for
the
the-
infographic.
that's what I'm trying to get
Yeah,
straight in
I
my head.
know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
because there's
sorry about that.
two different programs. So Ant Farm is solely going to distribute the basic needs. The capacity building is a totally different program. And we're going to send you the attachment we have a draft notice of funding opportunity. We will give that to you, so now that we've had this conversation, you can look through that draft and then ask more questions, because we really do want to get this right.
Right.
So we want to ensure that we are hitting the mark with what the board has conceived. Yeah.
Thank you, Martine. Real quick questions, Commissioners, we need to move on. Can one nonprofit apply for both, the basic needs and the capacity building?
So that's a yes. So if Ant Farm wants to be a beneficiary or partner with the mature organization for the capacity building, they may, to be direct with that question.
Well, why, no, now I'm confused.
Okay.
I'm talking, so you have your basic needs at 1.8 million. So if nonprofit ABC applies for that grant and receives it, and nonprofit ABC wants to apply for capacity building, do they qualify, and can they be awarded both? But then you said the Ant Farm would be a partner?
So Ant Farm is going to be the subrecipient of the basic needs, which means that they are going to be distributing out that $1.8 million in funding, to be clear. Organizations that are getting the funding from Ant Farm, they can apply for the capacity building grant.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
But they're two separate programs.
But
Yeah,
they're
two separate
they're
programs.
two separate programs. Is the Ant Farm going to be administering both?
No.
No.
Thank you. That's my questions.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, Mark.
The ARPA dollars we're talking about today came into the county specifically for assisting our county, our people, our businesses to recover from the COVID-19. But many of the nonprofits that work with Clackamas County are regional nonprofits. So the question here is, on this $4 million in capacity building, if that's going to happen, I want it to build capacity for nonprofits to help Clackamas County. I have compassion for other counties, other cities in the region, but I'm concerned about my county, my constituents. So how do you measure that? How do you control that?
So one of the requirements for application of the dollars is that the organization serves Clackamas County residents, and that the dollars will benefit Clackamas County residents.
Okay,
So
thank
that's-
you.
yeah.
I'm going to suggest we move on. We got to be out of here at 11:30. We have a lot of issues on the table yet. I want to thank you both for coming forward. Please follow up and answering the commissioners' questions through email. If you send it once, send it all, please. Thank you very much. It was very informative.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to the consent agenda. Human Resources is here. Please come forward, staff. Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with Pacific West Claims for liability claims administration services. Contract not to exceed $425,000 for 5 years. Funding is through Risk Management Claims Funds. No county general funds are involved. Evelyn Minor Lawrence is Director of Human Resources. Michelle Rathke is with Risk Division and Human Resources. So just give a quick update on what this request is, and the board will ask you any questions.
Okay, this request is for our outsourcing of liability claims. We have about 100 claims a year that we outsource, and they monitor, do our reserves, hopefully make it so that claims aren't eventually litigated and escalated to county council. And this is a 5-year contract.
Questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Scholl?
Good morning. By contracting this out, how much money are you saving the county?
So the contract for this year is about 70,000, but it's not, it's, the equivalence of hiring a full-time person would be, exceed that.
Okay.
So, exact amount, I'm not sure.
Well, that's good news. That's a good answer. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing no objections?
Okay,
Thank you
that's
very
it. Thank you, Evelyn and Michelle. So this will also be on this Thursday's business meeting consent agenda.
All righty.
Okay, moving on. Short-term rental ordinance extension. Nate Boderman, Assistant County Counsel, please come forward. I don't want to steal your thunder, so I won't say a word. Come on, Nate, go ahead.
All right, hey, good morning again. This is a follow-up to last Thursday's meeting where you had first reading of an ordinance to repeal the short-term rental regulations that are currently on the books. So at that meeting, you'll recall that the board expressed a desire to consider alternative proposals for the short-term rental program. So it remains to be seen what this will look like, whether that is, continuing with a full repeal or whether that's an amendment or a whole new set of regulations. But we do know it'll take some time. And so what was clear was it wasn't the intent or the desire of the majority of the board to support the regulations in its current form. And so if you do nothing, the current regulations become effective this Friday. And so what we have for you is a board order to delay the implementation an additional year, to give you that additional time to consider other options. So that's really all this board order does. It would be on your Thursday consent agenda. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, good morning, Nate.
Morning.
Okay, so this delays it for 1 year, but on the second hearing, this has to do with the second hearing. When is the second hearing on this?
Beginning of September, I believe. And so, again, all this would do is to delay the implementation to give you that additional time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions or comments? Any objections? Gary, do we do a motion on this?
No, we'll put it on this Thursday's consent agenda for formal adoption.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Nate. Next, execution of a previously adopted resolution. Tony Marinek will present. There's a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Tony.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. As part of my role as clerk to the board, I am responsible for ensuring that we have all of the appropriate records. In reviewing an action item that came across the board's desk a few weeks ago, we identified that the resolutions approved on July 24th were never actually drafted or executed by the board. The board did unanimously adopt the resolutions, and they do have full force, but we never created the actual document. What we are asking the board's approval is for Chair Smith to sign those documents. The actual documents are in fact in the packet, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I see there's 65 pages. How many documents about?
Chair Smith, there are 2 resolutions, one for the Board of County Commissioners and one in the board's capacity as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District.
Okay, thank you. I have no problem with doing this, Commissioners, if you approve.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, Tony, and we'll do that.
We'll have Chair Smith sign them. You basically already approved it. We're just closing the loop. Thank you, Tony, for catching this. Outstanding job. Thank you, Commissioners. Next, review of your business meetings. You have actually two. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June 29th, you are meeting as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board at 6 p.m. Hybrid, so in person here at the county, this hearing room, and on Zoom at 6 p.m. You have 4 board discussion items and public comment. And then as well, this Thursday, June 30th, you have your regular board business meeting at 10 a.m. here in the board hearing room. You have 3 public hearings. 2 of them are budget related. All 3 are budget related. To approve adopt the budget for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, adopt the budget for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, and approving a supplemental budget over 10% for the entire county, as well as all the consent agenda items for today that you approved. If you have any questions on either of these 2 meetings, please let me know and I'll answer them for you. Next, advisory board and commission appointments. Tony, go ahead.
The Library Advisory Board, staffed by Business and Community Services, currently has 4 openings on the commission. Through a recruitment process, 11 applications were received. However, 7 of those applications were disqualified due to applicant location. 4 applications are in good order and are recommended for appointment. Those recommendations are Evan Griffith, Caitlin Gonzalez, Nancy Eichstead, and Anata Blackmar.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion for approval of these 4 appointees.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Schrader has moved for the appointment to the existing Clackamas County Library Advisory Board of Evan Griffith, Caitlin Gonzalez, Nancy Eichstead, and Anata Blackmar. Commissioner Schrader, I'm sorry, Commissioner Fisher has seconded the motion. Yes, any further discussion?
Yes, Chair Smith, I just want to say we're trying to move faster than Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, and I'm getting tongue-tied. Okay, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Final item today is Commissioner Communications.
Commissioners, we have time. I didn't think we'd make it, but we do. We are expected to be at an important luncheon at 11:30, so maybe we can get there on time. Who wants to go first? Commissioner Scholl.
I'll be quick. Last week, on the 22nd, we had the MPAC meeting, Metro Policy Advisory Committee. We briefed on the Metro Parks and Nature Bond Levy. We briefed on the emergency transportation trends that Metro is doing, and also on the Tigard mid-cycle UGB proposal. I can send anybody a memo if you want to read up on those things. And then on Friday morning, I was in Lyons, Oregon, to meet with the Bureau of Land Management and the other members of the board of the Association of Oregon and California Counties. We toured the fire devastation down there. It was totally incredible. Harvest is happening, and interestingly enough, even the logs that are coming out last week are high-quality logs with no real problems with infestation, which was what we were concerned about before. As a reminder, Clackamas County has 94,085 acres managed by the Bureau of Land Management, and of course the harvest off that goes to the Association of Oregon and California Counties. We lost 12,600 acres last year. About 31% of that has been harvested. Proceeds shared with the other 18 counties in the association. And so that's my report from Friday.
Great.
Yeah, as bad as it was in Clackamas County in 2020, wasn't as bad as Marion County. Thank God for that.
Yes, they really took a hit on that. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, just some things are on the horizon to just let you all know about. Through the Association of Oregon Counties, there is an effort to really be at the table on looking at some changes to Measure 110, which was passed by the voters, that decriminalized drugs and also provided a framework for helping with substance use disorder. There have been some issues and challenges. There was quite the robust conversation at Association of Oregon Counties Strategic Planning Retreat, which will most likely lead us to a joint public safety, health and human services subcommittee meeting to really flesh this out further. So we in Clackamas County are not the only ones that are noticing the challenges here and talking with our district attorney and our sheriff and some of the challenges this is bringing. This has really risen and is a statewide issue. So more to come on that, and also through District 8 conversations as well. That is a really significant and important issue. So we'll keep you all posted. Hopefully, they'll do it at a time when people can come.
Okay. That would
For
be
that joint
helpful.
meeting, yes.
Yes, that would be helpful. Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Schrader, you're up.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know what's been going on with international trade at this point. I'm a member of the Oregon-China Council, and they have diligently given me the chair of the Government Affairs Committee. However, we have a number of people from Senator Arnie Roblin, who's retired, Senator Lou Frederick is involved, Senator Michael Dembrow, Representative David Brock Smith, who I've worked with a number of times. In any case, they wanted me to inform our commission that Chinese Minister Jin Quan of the Chinese Embassy in D.C. is confirmed to visit Portland, Oregon on July 22nd, 2022. He is actually one of their top people. He is Minister, Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the United States of America. They have asked me as the chair of the Government Affairs Committee to get this information out to our congressional delegation, to invite them to go to the dinner. And they've also requested visits to their congressional offices, if possible, with the Chinese minister. So I wanted to let folks know that I am going to go ahead and extend that invitation on behalf of the Oregon-China Council. And I would like to invite my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Fisher and I are going to be in NACO. I already told them I'm not going to be here, but it might be something that you might be interested in going to. And also, so you know, one of the reasons I'm doing this is, let's see here. I want to give you a quick update on trade with China. Oregon's export to China in 2021, it was $10.3 billion US. It's the third largest in the nation. The growth rate is 371.5% from 2012 to 2021. Growth from 2021 alone is 10 points to 2020 to 2021 is 10.6%. Oregon's first congressional district, evidently not our district, but is the #1 exporter of the nation to China with $8.1 billion US in 2021. In rural Oregon, oilseeds export to China jumped 1,000%. To $199 million US. Exports of US chips largely originate from one state, that would be us. 7.9 billion accounted for.
You mean microchips?
Yep. Oregon's first district again, I imagine that's Washington County, growing chips exports help support over 33,000 jobs in 2020, nearly 7,000 more from the year before. But in any case, I just wanted to give you a few of these pieces. I'd be glad to forward you some more information. I'll be meeting with the international export folks in Portland sooner than later because I have asked to be part of a conversation at NACO as a part of our international export group to be on a panel operating with some of these things. I will tell you that David Brock Smith, when we had the capacity to have a meeting here, we combined our meeting with the Association of Oregon Counties, got the Department of Agriculture out here with all of their top people, had a rule change that enabled us to export frozen strawberries from the area. And Commissioner Smith, hazelnuts.
Good.
Are also one of the biggest exports that, and I can't remember his name, but there is a past state representative who I worked with who's one of the biggest exporters of hazelnuts.
That would be Larry George.
That'd be Larry George. So, yeah.
And
There you
his
go.
father, the Senator Gary George,
Gary
was
George,
also.
that's right. Yeah, he's still involved in this, and so is David Brock Smith. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, so there are no surprises, but I would welcome your participation.
Yeah, send that information on, would you please?
I'll have them, I'll send you the letter, which is not on our letterhead. It is my letter as the Oregon China Council person. And I'll also send you the information with the export information that we have and issues that we've been dealing with tariffs, but that's kind of above our pay grade, but there you go. So that's all I have today.
Thank you. Briefly?
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Schrader for keeping our commission abreast of these very important issues. And when I was a new commissioner, Commissioner Schrader gave a presentation at the Abernathy, and I remember it vividly, but I don't remember who hosted it. It was very informative information that I received early on. I think these issues are critical, and while much of it is above, as you say, our pay grade, because they're more federal issues, our understanding and engagement are very important, especially now when our economy is teetering. So just to give you a thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Yesterday, we had the grand opening of Tukwila Springs on Webster Road, a 48-unit housing facility for a population of 50 years and older that has services. It was greatly attended by all my commissioners, a lot of people, and we were happy to get that done and up and running. Today, we will be leaving for an Oregon City Business Association forum where the county is hosting, and the topic is the homeless front at the Abernathy Center. So we need to leave for that to tackle this very important topic. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.